Previous ones, welcome back. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to go and give my opinions on last night's AEW Dynamite, a short review along with some predictions for the upcoming pay-per-view. So, first, let's go over our thoughts on the most recent Dynamite. First, we have a match between Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta versus Orange Cassidy and Hook. There was a dogfight before the match, during the match, all throughout before they even got in the ring, and as the match continued between Mox and Cassidy. A little bit of a lackluster match for me. I'm kind of over the Jon Moxley and Cassidy thing, but I do think it makes sense for Moxley to win at the pay per view. But we'll get into that when we go through our preview of the pay per view itself. But Yuta at the end took the pin over Hook with the seatbelt, likely setting up a Hook and Yuta FTW title match down the line, possibly on the pre-show or at the pay-per-view. Hasn't been announced yet, but we will see. Next up, we had a shot of the Golden Dragons of Dojima coming in like badasses, all looking like bosses straight out of Yakuza, like the video game, all in suits, walking in the rain into the arena. Thought it was a badass, just showing them arriving at the arena. Really enjoyed that. Actually thought that was pretty cool, even though it was a super quick segment. Then we had the Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page segment. We had Prince Nana dancing to Swerve's entrance song. Swerve looked perturbed by it, but I thought his dancing to the entrance always so hilarious. Great. I think Prince Nana's awesome. Really enjoy him. Hangman's lower third reads Matter in Hell, Matter, Madder, apostrophe N, Hell, as he storms to the ring. I mean, the lower third's the comic relief for Hangman. I get it. It's been an ongoing thing since AEW started. But, I mean, do we really need that little bit of comic relief? I guess it's for continuity for people who follow it every week. But, I mean, after a man's broken to your house, threatened your family, threatened your kids, do we really need that? Um, After that huge angle they did with Swerve. But regardless of my thoughts on that, Hangman I thought cut an amazing promo. I thought he did quite well. Started off a little slow. Didn't like him calling him dumbass over and over, but it was and also the references when Hangman said, "You're a bigger dumbass today than the day you got fired." Do we really need the tie-ins to the WWE references? I'm kind of over that in AEW. It's been 4 years now since they've been a company. Do we really need to keep going to that well of however they got let go in WWE? Like, who cares? I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that line, but the rest of the promo, loved it. When Hangman said, "You're not the man you think you are. That's why your fiance left you and why your kids won't talk to you." Goddamn, Hangman isn't pulling any punches. Could go without dropping the dumbass lines. Feels a little childish to me, but I did really enjoy the promo. Unsure what the deal is with Prince Nana buying weed from high school kids, though. And Hangman, after he beats Swerve, he's going to beat Nana and take his weed. Don't know if I missed something in the dirt sheets or something about Prince Nana buying weed off high school kids or something. Not sure. It's never been referenced that Prince Nana's like a pothead or anything. I didn't get the reference, but whatever. Sure. Got some people out there I'm sure did. Please let me know in the comments if you got that reference. Then he proceeds to beat down Nana as Swerve is not allowed, as Hangman says, "You and I might not be able to touch," but there was nothing said about Prince Nana. He goes, beats down Nana quickly. Security comes in. I thought it was a very nice touch, but I am upset that we didn't get a Swerve promo. We didn't get a back and forth. We didn't get to hear Swerve on the mic, which I think is a detriment because Swerve is so good on the mic. And I really enjoyed his work as of late. I thought it was a great segment regardless. Wish we really did get that back and forth, though, especially after such a good promo from Hangman. I would have liked to have seen how Swerve responded to that. Next up, we had a segment with Roderick Strong. Hilarious as ever. He's really starting to grow on me. I really didn't like this gimmick at first, but he's really starting to grow on me. It really does make me laugh. Accusing him to Adam Cole of MJF being the devil. Cole suggests it's Roderick Strong. This is definitely, to me, leaning towards it, the devil being Adam Cole, as I think that was the original plan, and I think they might be following through with that. But obviously, we'll see what happens. Then followed by a Sky Blue versus Red Velvet match, where the winner gets into the triple threat title match for the TBS title. I thought it was a little slow, boring. Sky getting some better heelish mannerisms. That's good. There was a terrible double missed roundhouse that put them both down. Rey Mysterio style bulldog spot by Red Velvet also didn't look very good. Followed by another couple of botched looking spots into what should have been the finish, in my opinion, when Sky countered a move into the Skyfall. That actually looked kind of good. Only a 2 count. Sky Blue botches several more strikes. Finally wins after she hits a super botched looking Code Blue. Red Velvet, clearly the better wrestler out of the two, the more experienced out of the two. Blue is clearly still very green. Botcherific. They tried, I think, too many spots. They tried getting too fancy. As Blue is clearly still very, very green, pardon the pun. But I mean, she's hot, right? So, if you're hot and a female wrestler in AEW, it's basically WWE in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? That was their female roster. Like, they got better over time, but when they started with like Sable and Sunny and Trish and Lita, Trish and Lita's really when they started pushing it a little bit more, but it was a lot of the TNA stuff and a lot of the bra and panties matches. I know they're not on that level yet, but I feel like they're just really over pushing. They're just the really good looking girls. But I mean, hey, if it brings in ratings, more power to them. Miro cuts a great promo. Love this. I don't favor God anymore, but Daniel, you definitely should. This is the word of the Redeemer. Absolutely love Miro. Thought it was a great little segment. I love having him on my TV, even for short segments like this. Beautiful. I really enjoyed this Dynamite for that. We got short segments of people that really, push storylines forward, and I like that. The Toni Storm segment was next. Absolutely love this as Mariah May, as we were introduced to last week, the new signing from Stardom. She's a huge Toni Storm fan. She gets, she's like a super fan. She meets Toni. It's hilarious in the black and white. Makes me think she'll either cost or help Toni win the title on Saturday. I mean, I think Mariah May will definitely get involved, and it'll either cost her the title and set up some sort of feud or deal with the two of them, or she'll help her to win the title, and it'll set up, friendship tag team, whatever between the two of them. But I thought really the amount of starstruck she was meeting Toni Storm was really cute. Toni Storm, when she had the cucumbers over her eyes, saying, "Nice to meet you, darling, but I'm not doing autographs right now." So good. Love Toni Storm right now. Not enough good things to say about her. I love the gimmick. It's great. Samoa Joe squash match was next. Fun, great. Joe made it fun. Good enough. Promo was meh. Not terrible. Not great. Short and to the point. Continental Classic recap was next. Sounds like a G1 style round robin, hoping the winner gets a world title shot to really make it mean something. All we really know so far is Bryan Danielson's in it, needs the first entrant in it. But if it is a G1 style, and Bryan Danielson saying he's always wanted to do a tournament like this, I really hope they make it important. They make it an annual thing, and they make it for, the winner gets a title shot at their next big pay-per-view. Like, I really think that's important. If it ends at World's End, then the title shot should be at Revolution or whatever their next pay-per-view is after that. I think that would make it mean a whole lot, and then you really have this build during that tournament, make it feel special, as opposed to just like the Owen Hart Classic, which really to me doesn't feel as special as I think it should. But yeah, like if it's a G1 style, I'm all for it if they make it mean something and really put some stories and create stories out of it coming out of it. Anyways, next, what I totally didn't understand, Young Bucks versus Penta and Commander. Obviously, it was supposed to be Penta and Phoenix. Phoenix couldn't get cleared, but what shocked me was they're in the Young Bucks' backyard. From what I've heard, ticket sales were abysmal for this event. They sold, the last time they were in the same building for a Rampage, not a Dynamite taping, just a Rampage taping, they sold over 7,000 tickets with the Young Bucks advertised to face the Lucha Brothers on that card. The last time they were in the same arena, they sold over 7,000 tickets. This time around, for a Dynamite, they had sold about 3,200 tickets leading up to the day of the show. I don't know if they sold a few more once they announced on Twitter that the Bucks were going to be in this match. But why did they not promote the Bucks the week before or 2 weeks before, have some sort of build going into this match? It doesn't matter who's in the match. Just have some sort of build and let the fans locally know that yes, the Bucks will be here and yes, they'll be in an entertaining match. Because to me, this match was the match of the show. It was a great match, but I did not understand why it wasn't promoted when ticket sales for this event in the same building were so abysmal when they're in the Bucks' hometown. Made no sense to me. That being said, again, incredible match, great tandem offense, incredible maneuvers, definitely match of the show at this point and for me for the night. So smooth, so fun. Anytime the Bucks and Penta, even with Commander, it's absolute magic. I really, really love this match. Shocking hearing the dueling Zero Miedo chants with the Let's Go Young Bucks chants in the Bucks' hometown. Shocking with that. This was before the heel turn at the end. Obviously, it wasn't in Rancho Cucamonga, but it was just miles away from their hometown, but this is basically their home turf. The heel turn with the low blows and the Judas effects was a surprise, but I'm cool with it. Heel Bucks are the best Bucks. Bucks win. Best match of the show, as I said. Bucks heel promo post-match was meh for me. I'm not very excited for the Golden Jets versus the Bucks. Almost want to see the Bucks win just to see Kenny not in another tag team or another faction. Like, I want to see Kenny as a single star. I'm sorry. I've wanted that since AEW started. I want him without any, nonsense BS. I'd like to see him as the best bout machine, kicking ass, having incredible matches, great storytelling. I want my Kenny Omega as a single star. I hate seeing him constantly in tags and six-mans and everything else. That being said, next up we had a Guns squash match featuring Peter Avalon. Very boring promo after the squash, after the 310 to Yuma. Also not hyped at all for MJF and probably Samoa Joe or whoever versus the Guns at the pay-per-view. Hopefully that changes. If it is Samoa Joe, we get some sort of segment in the pre-show before the match. He goes to Joe. They win. Joe counts as a tag team. Has the title. Has a tag titles. It leads to his world title match and whatever. Maybe it'll be a triple threat with Adam Cole, MJF, and Joe at some point down the line. Who knows? If it's not Joe, that's all they've really been building to. So wouldn't make sense that it's anybody but Joe with MJF in this match, unless he did another handicap match, which I doubt. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they turn this around and, spark my interest. Anyways, next up was a Wardlow segment. I thought it was a decent a decent promo. I like heel Wardlow, followed by a shot of the devil mask at the end of the promo, making it feel like it's Wardlow. I think this really, since they suggested that, I don't see it being Wardlow now. I thought maybe before, but because if you're showing the devil right after the Wardlow promo, obviously it's a bait and switch, and that's what you're trying to set us up for, to make us think it's Wardlow. I was thinking before that it could have been him. Not so much anymore. But I could see Wardlow costing MJF the title at, say, a World's End more than I see him competing at World's End for the title. And this is, again, assuming MJF is still champion going into World's End, but being in his hometown makes sense. Maybe they switch the title on to Jay White and they have MJF going to fight for it back in his hometown. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I definitely don't see Wardlow being the one contending for the title at this point. I think they need to build him more over the next couple months, but I could definitely see him costing MJF the title, as he said he's going to cost him everything that he cares about, and then you push him into that title fight. But we'll see. Or maybe a triple threat, MJF trying to win the title back. Who knows? Next up, we have Don Callis family versus the Golden Jets +2. It was the Like a Dragon Gaiden street fight. Not familiar with the game. I am somewhat familiar with the Yakuza games. There were some spots in this match that I didn't get, that I was told later that were just references to the Yakuza game, as clearly a lot of stuff in this match was done for, lovers of the game, and they did a great job of implementing for a video game gimmick match. I thought they did a good job. I loved Don Callis' line right as he got onto commentary, as they were talking about how Chris Jericho had just beaten Konosuke Takeshita in DDT at an event in Japan, and right away Don Callis gets on the commentary and says, "It's a well-known fact that Chris has been buying off refs for over 30 years in Japan, and that's why he beat Takeshita at DDP in Japan the other day." Thought it was a great line. Really enjoyed that. I thought it was funny. Love Don Callis. Paul White and Chris Jericho are still in their Yakuza-themed suits, likely to cover up for Paul White having limited mobility and looking really bad in his gear when we saw him the other week, looking like he could barely stand, all taped up on his knees. I mean, I felt bad, but I mean, I think that's why they kept him in the suit. Kenny and Ibushi both in the wrestling gear, but we had Jericho and Paul in the suits, and I mean, they look good. Um, right off the bat, we get Paul White choke slamming Kyle Fletcher off the stage through a table. Then he walks to the back. Must be in worse shape than he looked because we did not see a lot of him in this match at all. So weird that he just left to the back after hitting the choke slam. And then we get Ibushi and Omega go for the tandem moonsaults outside later on down in the match. It really looked like Ibushi is still trying to find his footing. Is when they normally do those golden moonsaults or whatever they call them when they sprint to opposite corners of the ring and hop out for those Masai moonsaults. It looked like Ibushi lost his footing and ended up going off the top, a little delayed. I think he just needs more time back in the ring. It's been so long for him. Paul White next is up in the parking lot, and you see him beating up Hobbs. Ibushi, then we see him riding a bicycle down the ramp with a pipe in his hand. Really, to me, I get that this was a Yakuza spot because they use the bicycles and stuff, and it was the video game spot, so I guess that's why they had to have it in there. But to me, it really made the street fight seem like a complete joke. Then we cut back to the back where we have the serious stuff, where we have Powerhouse Hobbs lifting Paul White on some crates and then dropped him literally like he lost his grip onto a car for a horrible looking landing. I mean, this was bad. I'm concerned for Paul White. I want an update on him because this looked really bad, almost as bad as when Christian, the second time round, dropped Darby onto the stairs. It just looked like Paul was too heavy and Hobbs just tried dropping him in the right spot on the car. He landed so terribly. It looked devastating. I really hope Paul's okay. But that was how you make Powerhouse Hobbs look like a monster. I loved that part. I love what they did with Hobbs in this match. I really love how they're building him into a monster. Then we cut back to the ring where Ibushi gets brainbusted onto the bicycle. Brutal that he brought into play. It's just so off-putting having some serious stuff like the Hobbs and White in the back, followed by the nonsense in the ring with the comedy spots with Ibushi and Omega. Just kind of off-putting to me as this. I just don't get what they're doing. When it's a blood feud and then you have the comedy spots thrown in. Otherwise, I did enjoy this match. Brian Cage was wearing Sega-inspired tights. Omega also had the Sega logo on his tights, as obviously this was the Sega crossover match. Weird Japanese market / Yakuza style weapons in this game, as we had like plastic pallets, crates, bicycles, beer bottles, Yakuza masks, barbed wire bats. Some strange choices, but obviously a great time for the video game for those who know it. Feels like half the match was a comedy match and the other half we were supposed to take seriously, like it was like the blood feud it was supposed to be. The comedy acts were the ones who should have been serious. I mean, especially Kenny Omega, as he's the one been feuding with Don Callis' family the whole time. So I wasn't crazy about all the comedy spots. Brian Cage then superplexed Kenny Omega from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring through some tables, very much akin to many spots that I've done in the old 2K games over the years. That superplex to the outside spot, awesome. Powerhouse cleans house, looks absolutely amazing. Jericho then kicks a chair towards Hobbs, again another comedy spot that I did not enjoy. Jericho literally kicking the chair towards Hobbs so that they could have a chair sword fight or lightsaber battle with the chairs. Not a fan of these comedy spots. I can't stress that enough in this particular match that's supposed to be a blood feud. Thankfully, Hobbs cut him off, hit him with a massive spine buster. Arn Anderson would be proud. Kyle Fletcher, don't forget he's still in this match, came back after the chokeslam, came back into the match. We had an erector set of chairs set up on the outside. They put a Yakuza style, like a Japanese sign across the erector set of chairs, and Kyle Fletcher tombstoned Ibushi from the apron through the sign onto that erector set of chairs. Dangerous spot, beautiful spot. looked amazing. I can't stress how little room for error there is on a spot like that, and they nailed it. It looked amazing. They then followed up with duct taping Hobbs to the top rope. Hobbs dares them to do something. Jericho and Omega duct tape his mouth shut. Omega then destroys him with weapons, then breaks a bottle over his head. Omega then V-triggers both Hobbs and Brian Cage, then hits Brian Cage with the one-winged angel. 1, 2, 3. Golden Jets without Paul White, who's out in the back, still win. Match was fine. I just didn't wish they didn't throw so much comedy bits in, but I guess they had to for the tie-in to the Yakuza game. But it was still, the moments that needed to be impactful were still impactful. It's just I got taken out a little bit with the comedy spots. Had they kept it serious start to finish, I think this might have been my match of the show. But for now, I got to give it to the Young Bucks and Penta and Commander. Followed this was by an MJF segment. Very much a paint-by-numbers promo for Max. Not his best work, not terrible by any means, but very mid for his level of promos. Jay White then cut a decent promo. Six the Dogs on MJF says, I got 2 words for you. And then he says, get him, or whatever, like get him boys, whatever it was for the 2 words, but where they, the Bullet Club Gold goes and destroys MJF. And then Switchblade comes in, hits his Blade Runner, goes for the ceremonial cover and pin. 1, 2, 3 from Juice Robinson. Tells MJF he is definitely retaining it full, this told me that MJF is most likely retaining it Full Gear. I thought it was a decent Dynamite overall. Not the best, not the worst go-home show in the entire world, but you know what? I am excited for Full Gear, and now I'm just looking for the Full Gear lineup for you guys for 23. Updated card for Full Gear. So, again, we do have a Collision still to go, but as far as their go-home Dynamites for pay-per-views, they have not been incredible for a lot of times, and I did think this was a very decent go-home show for their shows in general in comparison to their regular quality. But let's go through the card of what we have here. It looks like we have Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho versus the Young Bucks. To me, I'm hoping the heel Bucks go over just because I don't particularly want to see Kenny Omega tied up in another team. But if that puts him back with the Elite and then they start doing trios matches again, I don't want that either. I love the Bucks as a team by themselves. I love Kenny Omega as the star of the company. I wanted him to always be a showpiece and a single star. Not crazy about all the team-ups for Kenny Omega, regardless of how good the tag matches may be. I definitely think this tag match has the ability to steal the show. I think they're going to go all out. Anytime Kenny Omega is against the Young Bucks in any capacity, it's an incredible match. But I'm honestly hoping the Bucks win just so we don't get any more Jericho Omega. Obviously, they trademarked the Golden Jets. They could put the tag straps on them. Who knows? So I really don't know who's going to win this match, but I'm hoping for the heel Bucks. But I honestly think I'm going to go with my pick is Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, just because of them trademarking the Golden Jets making that trademark. I think they're going to probably try and push this a little further, and they might give a brief tag title run to Kenny and Chris. So my pick is Kenny and Chris, but my hope is the Bucks win, the heel Bucks. Next we have Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. I mean, Christian Cage is doing some of the best work of his career. I'm like Luchasaurus as your, dollar store Kane, and you got Nick Wayne, the young protege. I could care less about either of them, but Christian's just been doing such good work. Love him so much on the mic. He's just absolutely incredible, but obviously, Sting on his retirement tour, Adam Copeland in his first really big match since joining the company, they're not going to lose. They're not. So obviously, Sting, Darby, and Adam Copeland for sure, but it should be fun. I'm sure it'll be fun for Darby to bounce around with Luchasaurus, big guy like that and everything. But yeah, definitely going with Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, and Sting in that one. For the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship match, we have MJF and likely Samoa Joe versus the Guns. Gonna go with MJF retaining the tag straps because I feel like they have to build it until Adam Cole gets back, and then he loses it just before Cole gets back and is cleared. If that's going to happen soon, then they could lose it here because I think they're going to use that loss to set up the split with Adam Cole and MJF. I think they'll incorporate that into the story, but we will see. But for now, my pick is MJF and whomever, likely Samoa Joe, to retain. Then we have what I'm probably most excited for on this entire card is the Texas Death Match between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page. Now, I'm not the biggest Hangman fan in the world. I do love what he's been doing. I think he is a beautiful homegrown star that they've really, when they decided to put the Rocket behind him, they did great stuff. I thought his best work was at the beginning of AEW when he had the drinking problem and he was taking beers from the fans after each match in the crowd. I thought they were building to a fun story there. Obviously, COVID happened and it just cut everything. But I mean, he definitely had an incredible promo on this week's Dynamite. I myself am a Swerve Strickland man. I absolutely love him. I really hope he gets pushed to the moon. I really hope he becomes world champion in AEW sooner than later. And I definitely think that whomever comes out on top at the end of this feud, I'm not saying at the end of this match, I'm saying at the end of this feud between Hangman and Swerve, I see in line for a title shot and could be your next AEW champion, the one to dethrone MJF. Whether it's through shenanigans or otherwise, I could see it being either of these two men fighting for it and winning it. But for my money, this match, because Swerve won the first one, and it is a Texas Death Match, I have to pick Hangman to win this match, even though I want Swerve to win the feud. It makes sense for Hangman, especially after he got home invaded by the man, and you're defending your family's honor, protecting your family from this guy who threatened your child. Yes, Hangman needs to win this match. It only makes sense. Even though I love Swerve, love him as a heel, love his promos, wish he got to cut a promo tonight. Hopefully on Collision we get a big promo from Swerve. But either way, for this match, I'm picking Hangman. For the AEW International Championship match, Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley. I mean, I think the plan was to go with Jon Moxley. I think they wanted the Cassidys basically fought everybody and defended that title for a long, long time. That long reign's already done, and he got the title back. I think they're just going to go with Jon Moxley. It gives him a different direction, keeps him out of the world title scene for a little bit, and it gives him something else to do. So unless they're going to let Jon Moxley finally take a little vacation, I see Jon Moxley winning this match, and hopefully there's no issues where he gets concussed or injured or anything along those lines. Hopefully, but it should be a good match, and it should be definitely bloody. But I definitely see Jon Moxley coming out with the title in that one. AEW TBS Championship match. We have Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, Sky Blue. I think the reason Julia Hart's getting this rematch is because not everything's clicking so much with Chris Statlander. I know they're trying to build her up. I think Julia Hart has the fan base. They've been building her well, even though I'm not as much of a fan of hers as some of my other cohorts on the podcast that we do every week. I don't think Sky Blue is the answer. I don't think she's ready. I think she's too green. I still think Julia Hart's too green, but I can't deny her character work and her improvements over time, and I definitely think the reason she's back in another title match so soon is so they're just going to do what they basically did with the Acclaimed when they first lost to Swerve and Keith Lee, is they're given that rematch, they're going to win the titles. I think you're going to do the same thing here. I just don't think you're going to get nearly that same reaction. But I definitely think it's Julia Hart's time. Her character work's incredible. Her work in the ring is going to constantly improve. So you know what? She'll probably win me over eventually. I'm just not fully sold on her yet, but I definitely see the improvement in her work, and she is getting there for me. It's just I'm not crazy about the AEW women's division, period. Toni Storm, definitely love her to death, but we'll talk about that in our next preview, which is coming up, is the AEW's Women's Championship match. And for the record, Julia Hart is my pick to win the TBS Championship match in the triple threat. And I think they might have her beat Sky Blue so that you might have that rematch stip with Chris Statlander and they can get another match out of it, out of the feud, just so Chris can say she didn't lose. That's the whole thing with the triple threat. Keep her strong, pinning Sky Blue. That's where I see it going. But anyways, now we're back to the women's title match. Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm. I mean, like I said, I think it's going to come down to what's her name, Maria. What was her name? Where are we here? It was Maria May. So I think Maria May is going to be getting involved in this match in some way, shape, or form, and it'll either end up costing Toni Storm the title or it will win her the title. And they're going to start either a love-hate relationship or whatever it's going to be. I think Maria May is definitely going to be involved because of the character work and how hot Toni Storm is right now, and not much is going on with Hikaru Shida. I'm going to pick Toni Storm to win, even though I don't think she needs the title because her character work is so strong right now. And I just don't know where they're going with the Maria May thing. I can definitely see Hikaru Shida retaining. Like I said, Maria May accidentally costing Toni Storm the match. You know what I mean? Like not intentionally, but still ends up costing her. And Shida still retaining. And then Toni Storm's furious with Mariah May. And then you get months of her. I mean, that almost makes more sense. No, I think that's what I think that makes more sense. I think Mariah May cost Toni Storm the title. She feels so bad about it. Spends months trying to make up for it and everything else. And I think Hikaru Shida retains for that reason. Yeah, I'm switching my pick on the spot. You got it here live. AEW's Women's World Championship match. Picking Hikaru Shida to win via Mariah May accidentally costing Toni Storm the match in some way, shape, or form. And then spending the next several weeks or months trying to suck up and kiss up and make up to Toni Storm for costing her that match. So that's where I see the story going. Next up, we've got the AEW World Tag Team Championship match between Ricky Starks and Big Bill versus La Facción Ingobernables versus FTR versus the House of Black, represented by Malachi Black and Brody King. So usually in these four-way tag team championship matches, they almost always have the champions retain. So for that reason, and that reason alone, I'm picking Ricky Starks and Big Bill to win this match. I could see Malachi Black and Brody King winning. Great. That'd be good for them. They've already held the trios titles. Something to do. You put it on them. FTR, I mean, they're back in a title match. You could build up that Young Bucks match again, but do we really want to see that again so soon? La Facción Ingobernables, if you really want to put a rocket on them, you can have them win it, but only solely because I really can't pick them. This is a pick 'em match. I literally could see any one of these four teams winning. I more likely would see House of Black. I would say House of Black, number 1, FTR, number 2, and Starks and Big Bill, number 3, and La Facción Ingobernables, number 4 is my picks to win, really. Like if we were going in order. But for the pure fact that I don't ever remember them switching the titles in these big four-way championship matches, I totally could be wrong. I just can't remember it happening. That's why I'm picking Ricky Starks and Big Bill. By hook or by crook, FTR hits the Shatter Machine on someone from La Facción Ingobernables. Starks and Big Bill take advantage, throw them out of the ring, whatever, get the quick pin. I see something like that happening, but it wouldn't surprise me if any one of these teams wins, because right now the tag team championship match, or the tag team division, is kind of up in the air. The Young Bucks, I forgot, also in their tag team match are putting up their number 1 contenders match against Jericho and Omega. So if Jericho and Omega win, they get the title match. Who's the big match for them to face? They're baby faces. You're not going to do FTR. So it's either Ricky Starks and Big Bill. I think La Facción Ingobernables is, I don't know if they're baby faces or heels. So it's either going to be Ricky Starks and Big Bill or Brody King and Malachi Black. I don't know if you want to beat the House of Black so quick if they win the titles. And I could see them putting the titles on Omega and Jericho. So yeah, I still think Ricky Starks and Big Bill, because I don't think it makes sense to FTR to get the titles and then let's just drop them right away to Omega and Jericho, but they could do that. Anyways, it's a real pick 'em match, but I'll stick with Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Finally, we've got the AEW World Championship match. MJF versus Jay White. What can I say? Jay White's hit his finish. He's been holding the title hostage for what seems like months now. He hit him with the Blade Runner on Dynamite. We'll see what happens on Collision. But generally speaking, you get that last shot in on the go-home show. Means you're probably losing at the pay-per-view, at least in traditional booking in the olden days of the Attitude Era and beyond, and before that in the WWE days, so WWF days. So yeah, I mean, there's no reason I think MJF should be losing this title. Jay White's great. No problems with him. I think he helped carry, him and the Bullet Club Gold helped carry Collision for a long time. Them and FTR. But yeah, I definitely don't see MJF losing this. I don't think now is the time. You could do, if you wanted to do a rematch at the World's End pay-per-view, because I think that's in Long Island, right, in his hometown, and have him get the big win back. But I honestly think he might be losing at World's End, and Wardlow costs him. So Adam Cole, I think, is probably going to be the guy to take the title off MJF if he's healed up in time. But you could make an argument for a lot of guys to take that title off, to be the one to take the title off MJF. Like I said, whoever comes out of that feud with Hangman and Swerve, I could definitely see them. I would like to see Swerve win the world title, have a nice reign with that. But yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens. Could be Samoa Joe. They're building him up. I don't think it will be. But I definitely don't think it's Jay White's time. I think MJF retains, gets his title back, and moves into as the champion going into his hometown. And I could see him retaining it there too, depending on who he's facing. But yeah, for this one, for my money, definitely going MJF. Anyways, this went a little bit longer than I had initially, I'd been initially going for. I was shooting more for probably 25 minutes. We're at about 37 minutes. So those of you who stuck around for all the predictions and the review and thoughts on Dynamite, dubious ones, thank you very much. Please feel free to leave me a comment down below. Leave me your thoughts. Leave me your picks for the pay-per-view. And leave me a like on the video. And also just let me know if you like me doing this kind of content, previewing upcoming pay-per-views, reviewing of shows, because I'm trying to do more content and put more stuff out there other than just video game content. So you guys let me know what you think. If you enjoy this kind of content, I'll keep doing it. And obviously you can always also catch me on the WGC podcast over on the, I believe, is it still known as the WrestleBomb channel? Or have we officially rebranded yet? I don't want to spoil the rebranding if we have not. No, it is still currently the WrestleBomb channel. We do a podcast every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, where we just talk, what's going on in wrestling during the week, stuff that's been going on with wrestling video games, MMA, UFC, and whatever else. We cover it, and with all my wonderful co-hosts, I will leave you a link in the description to the podcast, to the channel, and to all of my wonderful co-hosts that you could please go give them a follow for Strizer Tube Wrestling, Unsanctioned TV, Loaded as a Beast, Just Brian, Kiro the Goat, and Kenny Bomb. All links will be down in the description for you guys. But that's it for this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Later, guys. Thanks for watching.